Hello and welcome to the Anonymous Audits. And thank you for joining me for another episode of the Scientology Chronicles. And today's article, it's a little interesting. So let's jump right in. On December 9th, 1970, Bud Loftus of the Bureau of Drugs Division of Case Guidance and I interviewed Mr. Lander at his office in Hollywood, California. Mr. Lander is 23 years old and a partner in his father's advertising and special promotion agency. In 1969, Mr. Lander was first made aware of Scientology by a friend. Mr. Lander enrolled in and completed an introductory communication in Scientology. The fee was $20 for this course. Given at the North Hollywood Scientology Center. Mr. Lander recalls signing some type of legal release before taking the course. Mr. Lander stated he joined Scientology because he wished to get to know himself better and appreciate his surroundings. Mr. Lander is Jewish and was told by the Scientology organization that Scientology embraces all religions and that Mr. Lander could retain his present religion. Mr. Lander then enrolled in a realization course in Scientology. The fee was $150 for this course. Before instruction began in this course, Mr. Lander was given written instructions telling him not to visit a doctor for 6 months during auditing. These instructions were not signed by anyone in Scientology. Mr. Lander signed his name to these instructions, pledging not to visit a doctor for this period of time. Mr. Lander was not provided a copy of these instructions. Mr. Lander feared this would lead to total dependence on Scientology. Mr. Lander attended 3 or 4 sessions of the realization course when he involved his cousin, Carrie Samuels, in Scientology. His cousin raised doubts about Scientology in Mr. Lander's own mind. These doubts were dispelled by the Scientology organization. Mr. Lander stated he underwent initial auditing with an e-meter during the realization course. Mr. Lander stated he felt hypnotized during auditing, during which he was asked many personal questions. This was the only time he was audited. Mr. Lander described it as a quote unquote security check. During the course, Mr. Lander was asked to sign various oaths and pledges and was informed that violating any of these codes would classify him as quote unquote an enemy by the Scientology organization. During March of 1970, while taking the realization course, Mr. Lander called in to report he was sick and unable to attend a session. He related to the organization that he had a headache. He was told to come in and receive a touch assist and see no doctor nor take any drugs. Mr. Lander stated a disease-free condition was one of the results expected from auditing in Scientology, although such was not guaranteed. After this event, Mr. Lander inquired as to the total cost to each clear. He was informed by the Scientology organization that it would cost $4,000 to $5,000 and was asked to sign a contract for this amount of auditing. He refused to do so. Mr. Lander then left Scientology organization. He was contacted twice thereafter by the organization, which asked that he answer some questions. These calls were to his home, and he insisted such request be made to him at his office. Mr. Lander did not receive additional calls and never answered any questions. Mr. Lander feared that if pursued by the organization, he could be coerced into taking more auditing in Scientology. Mr. Lander stated he saw no evidence of violence in the Scientology organization. Mr. Lander also stated he considers Scientology practices analog to those demonstrated in the film The Manchurian Candidate. He felt that if subjected to enough auditing, he could be instructed to do anything asked by the Scientology organization. The interview was discontinued after this point, and Mr. Lander stated he would be willing to talk with us again in the future on this subject. Now, I don't know how many of you know or remember the movie The Manchurian Candidate. So I thought I would, at this point, I would just bring up, let's just bring up a little synopsis. So let's take a look, shall we? So, the Manchurian Candidate. What it says, what was the point of the Manchurian Candidate? In the film, communism is depicted as a monolithic international conspiracy originating in countries like the USSR and China. It conveys the popular myth that China was brainwashing US soldiers for communist purposes or creating their Manchurian candidate or perfect robotic like soldiers during the Korean War. So I found it interesting that Mr. Lander actually felt like if he continued to get auditing, that he would be so brainwashed by Scientology to literally do anything, to do anything they ever asked, just like the movie The Manchurian Candidate. That's a scary thought. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that Scientology, through auditing, is brainwashing people to the point that they could become some sort of soldier or operative to do their bidding whenever they wanted? It's an interesting idea. Let me know in the comments what you think. And no more kids in Scientology, because why? Kids can't consent. And please remember to spread love and kindness wherever you go. And I'll catch you on the next one.